Well, good Wednesday morning. This is Dr. Bill Williams, and we are here for another episode of the Influencers Podcast. Today, I've got a special treat for you, all the way from Denver, Colorado. Marji Sherman, CEO of Sherman Social Media. You're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to learn a lot about exactly what Marge does. She's a veteran of many things in the social media, the the things that impressed me about you is you've done just about everything,
Yes.
and you've taken on a role of a mom recently too. So,
Mhm.
I mean, you're doing burning the candle on both ends right now with the little one.
Yes, absolutely. He keeps me going.
Yeah. Well, we want to really find out about what's going on. Sherman Social Media, of course, your company. You're the
Mhm.
founder, CEO. Tell us about where you were, what happened, and what's kind of the story behind your development, owning your own company in the social media marketing business.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I kind of fell into social media on accident. I started out in communications research. Social media actually wasn't available for brands when I graduated from college. So it wasn't a job that was available. And I really hated my original job in public relations because I was shy and I didn't like making cold calls or pitching people. So I ended up in the research space and loved it, but ended up moving back to Miami from New York City to help my mom with her cancer treatments. Fortunately, she's 10 years in remission now. But during that time, I realized that it was really difficult to find a research position unless I spoke Spanish fluently or Portuguese fluently. So I ended up applying for social media roles. And during one interview, I was interviewing with the president of BPI Sports. And he asked if I had social media experience. And I lied. I don't recommend doing that in interviews, but I said, yeah, of course I do. And so he made a deal with me that I could get them to a certain place in their social media within a month and I would get a raise. Or if I didn't achieve that goal, they would just let me go after a month. So I took on the challenge and I realized that social media really pairs well with research. My research skills helped me immensely in learning the social media landscape and the digital marketing landscape. So it was wonderful to be able to fall into that space. And I achieved the goal within 3 weeks and realized it was something I could do. And so built my way up through social media and really found my niche in creating social media departments at large corporations that had not had social media before. And so that included having a lot of CEO conversations and C suite conversations, convincing them social media was a great tool and not just a fad. And then, really, once I got my experience and developed who I was as a social media and digital marketing expert, I wanted to own my own business because my dad always owned his own business. He does commercial appraisals. And I watched him work as I grew up, and I just loved his work ethic and how he really put everything into his business. And so it was something I wanted to do as an adult when I grew up. And so, really, my dad was my inspiration for it.
Sounds like you really did impress the people with your immediate learning capability. Social media is not something you can just jump into in most cases and be an expert. So your
No.
smile must have must have got you in the door, but
Yes.
your
Helps
work
with
ethic
attitude.
kept you there. So
Yep.
I understand how that is. I had a similar situation with a young lady who was a dentist from Costa Rica,
Oh,
and
wow.
she couldn't work as a dentist in the US. So she came to me and she said, I want to work in your office because I've heard you are one of the top dentists in the US. And she said, try me. And I go, I don't think I can afford you. And so, she kept persisting and she said, just try me. And it was the best hire I ever made. She was my orthodontic assistant for, a number of years. And she was the best because she was a dentist. She knew
Mhm.
everything about orthodontics. So I was very
Amazing.
blessed. So yeah, you got to listen to those people that come in and have confidence. So
and are passionate.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, did you ever have something that was like a challenge that you tried to do something that didn't work out, like a failure story that others can learn from? I know, Marge, you
Oh,
probably can relate to startups that don't quite make it. You do a lot of work with media, and there's things that people don't do right, right? Tell us about what you know.
absolutely. Yeah, I would say one of the biggest failures within social media for me has been moving too fast, trying to get content out the door too fast, in which there's an error in the content and it's caught. One of my biggest mistakes was when I was working for the Anti Defamation League, actually, and right before I started my own business. And during that time, I was just trying to get something out the door. I had the day off, but there was a communications crisis. And so I sent out a tweet for everybody in the office to send out through our employee advocacy program. And there was a grammatical error in it. And so reporters at the New York Post picked up on that, and the New York
Ooh.
Times, CNN. And so they ended up sharing that and saying that they knew that we were just automating what we were sending out, because like 50 people sent out this tweet with this error in it. So it was mortifying. But it was a good lesson for me because I think in social media and digital marketing, everything moves so quickly, and it's hard to slow yourself down and just take the time to react appropriately. And so after that, I definitely gave myself the space to take at least 5 minutes to review things before I'm just sending them out. And that has helped me greatly moving forward.
The autocorrect in the text messages is a killer sometimes, right?
Oh, yes, that too. Oh, I've done that a lot in my personal life.
Hey, you'll be glad to know that we did send out a notice that we were going to be talking to you today to our audience all around the world, and they're
Amazing.
listening because I'm getting feedback right now already. They're saying that Marjorie's great. Can I have her come and talk to my girls? And this was from
Oh.
a pastor friend of mine in Kenya.
Oh, I love that so much. I actually have some preaching experience as well, preaching in high security prisons. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so you're a hit already. We just started.
Thank you.
What other reasons do people fail in the marketing business? Can you give us a
Yeah.
couple of hot tips?
Absolutely. I always tell people you have to make sure your product or your service is top notch before you market it. Because you can have the greatest marketer in the world and they will not be able to spin that product into a good product, especially with online reviews these days. It's just really important to look at your product first before you even step into the marketing world. Another one is being defensive in reviews. And so it's really difficult to see a review that's negative about yourself or your business. You can take it really personally at the end of the day. But it's important to remember that all people are dealing with different things, and they might have been having a bad day when they posted their review, or there might be something that you can learn from their negative review. And so it's important to take the time to understand that before just sending out something that sounds defensive, because no doubt somebody will screenshot that defensive response and you'll be on BuzzFeed the next day. So it's really important not to do that. Um, and then, kind of in line with that, another thing I see with marketing that is a big fail is not knowing how to respond to negative comments on social media. And that is something that I work with clients a lot on, because if you respond, if you don't respond, sometimes that can make it worse. And if you respond, it can make it worse. So I actually use something with clients that I call a responsometer. And it basically shows when something is in the red that somebody says, if they're using cuss words, if it's just totally inflammatory, then you want to make sure that you maybe don't respond to that because they're just looking for a fight at the end of the day. Whereas if it's something that you can solve, then it's important to solve it and let them know that you're working on it. Or if it's something you can't solve, but they're being respectful in their negative comment, then you can still respond to them in a respectful way, and say that you understand how they're feeling, because at the end of the day, your customers just want to know that you see them and you understand them and you're validating their feelings.
Those are three good reasons to try to avoid those situations. In dentistry, we often had to consult with dentists about people's reactions to the dental work. When things don't go right, people will definitely complain about a dentist.
They will. Yeah, I just had an issue with a crown. And
It's easy. It's easy to be the brunt of a lot of abuse as a dentist.
I
Thankfully,
imagine.
you know, if you have 99% good ones and one bad one, it doesn't hurt you. It's when you have 25% bad or 50% bad, it can hurt you a
Exactly.
lot.
Yeah, and I just recently read a quote that if you have up to 15% of negative reviews, a customer will most likely not go to you or purchase your product. Or if you have below 3.8 stars, that's usually when somebody will
And
walk away and look for someone else.
that's good metrics, you know,
Mm-hmm.
15% and 3.8 stars.
3.8 stars. Yeah. That's when somebody
Wow.
starts looking somewhere else.
Good metrics. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Margie, what do you find that motivates you internally to get up and go to work and do what you do today?
Well, lately it's been my new baby. But also it's my passion to connect with other people. I love helping others, and that's something my mom just raised me on. We'd visit the nursing home every week, if not multiple times per week, to help others. And I just think through social media and marketing, there's a way to not only for me to help clients, but for my clients to help other people as well through their products and services. Also, touching on that Kenya pastor, also my faith motivates me quite a bit to get up and continue through challenges and work hard at what I do. And then lastly, my dad, because of seeing his motivation and his work ethic as I grew up, was amazing to see. And at the end of the day, he was also an amazing father, even though he worked so much. So watching that really motivates me to be a good mother who's there for my son, which working remotely has really made that wonderful for me, but also be very excellent in my career and make sure that I'm upholding myself to those standards.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. It's great to have a father you can look up to and pattern after. I know. Is he? Would you
Yeah.
consider him your mentor?
I would. Yeah, he's always the parent I call for business advice, and then I always call my mom for like emotional advice.
Yeah. Mm.
Yes, he is my mentor. Yeah. So I see the next question.
Social media. Sherman's social media has a motto. What would it be?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I would say transforming businesses digitally. So making sure that we're transforming, not just taking a piece and doing social media because that's what a client is paying for. I will take the time to look at their entire business as well. We provide a free website analysis and audit. I provide a free hour consult for clients or new clients. So it's really my passion to look at the whole picture, because if you don't look at the whole picture, you're suddenly going to be missing something over here and your digital just isn't going to be performing well. So Sherman Social has a parent company, the MJS brand, and that parent company's motto is transforming pain into positive impact.
Hmm.
And so that does trickle down a bit into Sherman Social when I am choosing my clients and who I work with, making sure that there's something good going back into the world.
More people are chiming in saying they like this show. So, hey, we're making some pretty good headway across the world. We're in 200 countries. And so the people are waking up to this conversation going, I like this is good. Tell me more. I want to ask you a
Good
question.
morning.
Three success secrets that you know that is a secret that others
Yeah.
can model from.
Yeah. The first is a hard pill for people to swallow, especially as I work with clients who are in the, black tie business space, corporations. It's hard for them to realize this, but it's really important to be vulnerable as a brand. And that can be hard because you don't always want to admit your flaws. You don't always want to engage with customers in a vulnerable way. It can feel uncomfortable. But what comes from that are deeper connections and more retention with customers moving forward. And so an example of this would be if you have a crisis. I've done a lot of work with crisis communications, and it's really important to just admit that it happened. When you admit that it happened, your customers see that you're a person, even though you're a brand, but they can relate to you better. And it's incredible how much they can really understand and connect with you in that moment. One of my favorite examples of this is with DiGiorno Pizza. So this was a while ago, but their social media person did not look at what the hashtag why I stayed meant and why people were talking about that. And so they wrote why I stayed was for the pizza, and they sent it out. Well, why I stayed was a domestic abuse hashtag. About how it's hard to get out of those relationships. So big fail. But what happened was the social media person came out and said who they were. And they said, I'm so sorry. This was a huge mistake in my career. I shouldn't have tweeted this. And DiGiorno allowed him to do this through their channels. And what happened was amazing. I mean, the crisis was literally cleaned up like that. So vulnerability is a huge thing to have in your business. And then for the second one, I would say it's really creating content. This isn't much of a secret, but you'd be surprised how many brands don't do it. But creating content that is parsed in 3 different areas. So I've worked with the C-suite a lot on how they can improve their social media game. And I always coach them on doing 30% of content about themselves, which can be difficult for a CEO. And it can be anything from putting content out about a sports team they like, or putting content out about a band they like. It doesn't have to be anything super deep, but just something that helps make them a person to people online. And then the other 30% should be directly about the brand that they're representing. And the last 30% should be just industry news. And this can be hard for brands because they feel like if they just share industry news, that's not really about them and it's not bringing people back to their website. But it is important because what it does is it establishes trust in that brand and that they know what they're talking about and they're an industry leader. And then my third secret, especially when it comes to online marketing, is to really, really dive deeper than you think you need to into those analytics and looking at what people are actually responding to, because it can be quite shocking that they're not responding to what you thought they were, or it's not the target audience that's responding. I actually, just by looking at my Google ad analytics, I found something in Google where I was targeting people only in the United States with an ad. Yet when I looked at a different analytics system, I was seeing that most of the people clicking on the link from Google were living in countries I hadn't even heard of before. And so they were bots. And so I had to confront Google about this and get my ads back on track. And had I not understood that and understood the analytics part of things, they would have just continued charging me for bots clicking on my link, which doesn't help me in the long run. So really understanding analytics, even if you're the CEO of the company, is crucial.
You really hit on a real hot topic there with bots doing fake clicks, click farms. And when you can blacklist different countries off of your advertising, you can make a lot of significant difference in the ad spend if you can
Absolutely.
target, geofence, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing you said really brought me home to what I was used to is I wanted my patients to know me before they met me. And I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be a superstar in their eyes before they met me. So we
Mm-hmm.
were always working with the social proof and halo effect, and we were doing everything that would set us
Love
up for
that.
success, so that people knew us online and knew us through the media, social media, print media, TV, radio, before they would walk in our door. And so I
Mm-hmm.
never met a stranger. They knew who I was, even if I didn't know them.
That's so important. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, if you're a service provider and you're already the hero in people's eyes, you don't have very much to do to convince them that you're the right person, because they walked in the door believing you're the right person.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
it makes social media job a lot easier if you've got somebody who wants to be the star. If you got somebody who wants to be reclusive and hide behind the drill, like in a dentist office,
Yeah.
now that's pretty scary. You don't want to, put the dental work up front.
No, no. You want to know who's doing that work in your mouth.
Yeah. Well, I think we could keep going on that topic, but I want to know who would be somebody that would be buying from you, and why should they buy from you, your company?
Absolutely. One great part of our company is that I work closely with every client. So I am not just passing clients off to my team. I work directly with everybody. And when I hire based on what we touched on earlier. I hire on passion. So I have hired people that do not have social media skills, but they are passionate about social media. They're passionate about their job and work ethic. And they've turned into social media stars. And some of them now work at YouTube and TikTok. So I do really believe in mentoring a team and have a strong team that is always available and cares about you as a person and you as a client. My ideal client, I work mostly with people that are in the legal, healthcare, and luxury spaces, as well as real estate. So, kind of all over the place. I do work with a lot of physicians. So, love that as a dentist, you were on top of your marketing, Dr. Bill, and lawyers, and then also corporations, mentoring and training them on social media. I do a lot of workshops as well.
Excellent. Well, how do you go out and find the ideal client? You've identified who they are. How do you find
Yeah,
them?
that's a great question. So I definitely don't invest a ton in paid ads. I think it depends on your brand, is whether you invest in paid online advertising or not. For me, my clients come from referrals mostly. So I'll have other clients speak to somebody at a lunch, and then they're interested in coming on board. I have a couple of mentors who were my first bosses in New York City that I've stayed in touch with, and they have provided a lot of clients for me as well. What I also think is important, and a lot of brands lose this along the way, is I reach out one on one to people on LinkedIn, and it's not a message that I copy and paste. I take the time to get to know their business, and then I'll reach out to them and even share like an analysis with them that I did. So I'm actually connecting with them, and they're just not seeing a face and liking it and connecting that way. And I also think Twitter has been a great tool for me. I know it's a little controversial these days, but reaching out to people individually on Twitter has done wonders for my career and gaining clients, because people really air their grievances quite a lot on Twitter. And it's great to be able to hop in there and say, hey, I can help with this. Hire us, have a call with us. And I do think offering something free up front helps people get in the door. And so I offer a free website analysis, as I mentioned before, and a free 1 hour consultation. And what that does is it helps me get to know the brand, and them get to know me. And so what we're actually doing is figuring out if we'd actually work well together or not. And that's really helpful to find that ideal client.
Perfect. Well, think that's going to be easy for you to answer this question. How do you crush your competition?
Oh man, being personal and doing a lot of research on the competition. I always recommend that clients do a competitor analysis right up front to see where the holes are. And I'm always looking at where my holes are and how I can become better in that area. And so that's one way. But then also just putting myself out there, taking the time to record videos. I have a Wednesday CEO chat every Wednesday that goes up that has tips in it,
Mhm.
making sure that I'm top of mind for people that potentially could become a client.
Yeah, I would tell you this, that I've been interviewing people for over a year through this influencer podcast, and I've only had 2 or 3 people that I interviewed that actually marketed their interview in advance and put it out on social
Really?
media. So
That's
you're one of those
surprising.
3 that did that. So, you are cut above most.
You have to market yourself, which can be uncomfortable, but you have to do it if you want clients.
I was never shy, and I enjoy people who are students of their own game. What
Mhm.
about your well-defined product and service? Can you list some of them?
Absolutely. So we start with we either do packages or ad hoc. Packages start at a grand for small businesses and go up from there a month. And basically, that includes social media management, content creation, researching competitors. And then more of the ad hoc is developing and creating websites, doing a website analysis, and then fixing websites, which can be fun. And then everything from copywriting, graphic design, um, looking at video work. We really do anything that's online. So we're a full service agency. And of course, all of that includes reporting because that's so crucial to a business. So we always review what's happening with a client once a month and have a meeting with them to review metrics and analytics. And coming out of that meeting, there are actionable insights moving forward so we can always improve. And
Sounds like
also, one more is the employee advocacy program. So, I usually do this with larger corporations, but working with them to make sure that their employees are sharing out content. And this can be a great solve for corporations that don't budget for social media teams because it allows for everybody in the company to become a social media promoter of the company.
very nice, very nice. Do you have any specific online platforms that you use and rely on?
Absolutely. Hootsuite is one of my favorites. It's the veteran in social media analytics, so it works well in that space, but it's evolved into the digital space as well. What I love about it is I am very invested in AI, artificial intelligence, and where that is going. And Hootsuite already has AI built into it. So they're way ahead of the game. They have an AI Instagram captioner. So you don't have to even write your own Instagram captions if you're not a copywriter. They can help you find a username on social media that's not taken. And they help with tweets as well. They can figure out not only the best time that you should be tweeting, but what your tweet should say. And so it's a helpful platform, especially if you're not super into social media or experienced in it. It can help you a lot, and the AI is very easy to use within it. Go ahead. Okay. And then the other one is HubSpot. I like their email marketing feature the best. It's really easy to build email marketing trees within it. And they also have AI built in that I find to be helpful, especially if I'm working with a client that's not familiar with the space. And then the next one I'm going to say is a little controversial, but ChatGPT and Jasper.ai are two AI tools that can write copy for you and do research for you. ChatGPT is great for the research side. Let's say you don't know how to write an SEO strategy. you can ask it to do that for you, and it will come up with some steps for you to follow that's helpful. What I would not use Chat GPT for is to write blogs or do copywriting, unless you're very much going to spend time editing that. And the reason is Chat GPT will pull things that are already copyrighted, and you will be plagiarizing when you're writing what you're writing. The other reason not to use it is if you are a brand that needs something that has happened within the last 2 years or that's recent, because their data only is up until 2021. So it will not have the data that you need in there. So then I move on to Jasper, which actually that AI will rewrite everything. So there's less of a chance of getting plagiarized on that channel. And it's great to just use that tool to write blogs if you're not a copywriter yourself. And then what I do is I plug them into a tool called SEMrush, but there's also free tools online that will check for plagiarism to make sure that everything's cool before you post it.
I guess that's very important for a social media company to be very clear, steer clear of plagiarism, because it can get you in trouble.
It can, yeah. And
Some of
being
the best,
a copywriter, I actually find it easier to write myself rather than trying to take a blog that AI wrote and fix it. So it really depends on what you want, your
yeah,
preferences.
some of the best words that are written have already been written,
Yes.
and it's like, oh, I wish I could say that. Somebody already said it. I
Uh-huh.
thought I was the originator of some things, and then all of a sudden I realized, no, I didn't say that first.
It is surprising.
How do you give your clients 5-star experiences?
I always answer my phone unless I'm in a meeting.
Well, that's a
And
novel approach.
I know, right? They can also text me. I answer emails right away. This seems like a very simple thing, but you'd be surprised how many companies actually don't do that. And so it's important for me to be available to them, even if it's 7 o'clock at night. My clients know that I have an 8-month-old at home. And so they don't mind that there's a baby crying in the background or they're hearing something. I'll still answer my phone and talk to them, even if it's at night and they need something. And I think that's crucial because I want to stay close to their social media and make sure that everything's running smoothly to avoid having to do crisis communications later on. I think the other secret to a 5-star client experience is making your client feel valuable and make them feel like you really know their industry. So it's my job when I first get a client to do tons of research into their competitors, into who they are, what they've done so far on social media before I ever start any work for them. And that just helps me gain a better relationship with them. So when they're speaking to me, I'm not like, wait, what does that mean? I can actually have an intelligent conversation with them. And I'd say the last thing is keeping on top of the news in my clients' industries. So I'll send them like, hey, did you know this happened today? Do you want me to create a tweet about this? And that just really helps them know that I'm continuously thinking about them. And it just makes them feel like they're my only client, even though they're not.
It's really good evidence of 5-star client experiences being delivered. I can't help but imagine that somebody feeling comfortable with you, having researched their particular field of career business, really does set them at ease. And a lot of times I recognize non-experts try to get your business and they make glaring errors because they don't understand dentistry, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
They can't lead. They can follow, but they can't lead. And so, if you're putting in the effort so you can actually lead the marketing experience, that says a lot. So I think people probably recognize that when you do it. It's bigger than you think.
Yes.
How do you convert these clients that are really outstanding into brand ambassadors for you? You get a lot of your business through word of mouth referral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So I am open about how I get business. And so if I hear them speaking about somebody, I'll be like, hey, you should drop my name. I'm not shy about that. And you can't be, because they might not be thinking that way. I'll also ask them to leave a Google review, or leave a review on LinkedIn that would be helpful for me. Reviews go a long way, as we spoke about earlier, and it's just so crucial to have those. And it's interesting because I was getting my eyebrows done the other day, and the lady who did my eyebrows asked me to do a Google review for her. And I thought that was great. But then what was funny is she made me stand there and do it in front of her. So there's a way to do reviews and ask for them, and there's a way not to. She still got a good review because I love the innovation of that. But at the end of the day, I'll just follow up with clients and ask them, when you have time, would you mind doing this for me? And, usually they don't. I've never had somebody say no or not do it. So I think it's really important to ask for what you need, rather than be shy about it and think that you're stepping on toes.
Yeah. Being asked to do it right then and there intimidates some people for sure.
Yeah. And then I'll also share, if I wrote a blog that I think is relevant to a client, I'll share it with them on LinkedIn. I'll tag them in a tweet. And that just helps them see that I'm staying on top of things, but also then they might share that. And that helps my brand a lot.
I'll share a secret with you of how I got my patients to give
Yes.
me immediate feedback for online reviews. I would be talking to them at the end of their appointment or beginning anywhere, and if they said something outstanding that really would resonate with the public, I would say, "That's amazing. You said that, and it just really sent a tingle down my spine. That was so amazing. Could you, by any chance, repeat that on a video for me?" And half
Love
the people would
that.
say, "Yes, I would," and half will say, "No, I'm too shy for that." And I
Yeah.
got half of the people to do a fantastic, because I knew what they were going to say in advance. So I
Yeah.
said, "Can you repeat that?" And I got scores and scores of great reviews up online for social
That is
media.
smart. I love that so much.
So yeah, pass that along to your clients
I
that are looking for
will. I'm
video.
going to use that now.
The iPhone in a dental operatory is a weapon for marketing, and I had put it to use quite often. And sometimes I'd hold it out like a selfie. My patient was in the frame. Other times I'd have my dental assistant hold it, and I'd be standing there next to my patient. And we would just have a discussion about how wonderful it was to be able to do something like smile again, chew again, be out of
Oh, it's
pain.
wonderful. That
I
is
didn't
so
feel a
great.
thing, that kind of. He gave me a shot that I didn't even feel. Even something simple as that resonates with people.
It does, especially when you think about a dentist office and how many people do not want to go to the dentist.
How many things can you overcome by having a positive report,
Hmm.
So tell me, Marge, what are you grateful for today?
Oh, so many things. First off, I am grateful that we connected,
Yeah.
because I love learning from you and having conversations with you. Um, but I am very grateful for my son, because he was born via IVF and a surrogate. I had to have a hysterectomy when I was 30. So I thought I was never going to have children. So he is my little miracle, and he's a happy baby that smiles all of the time. And he just makes me so happy. And I'm so grateful, because he's truly a miracle for me. And I'm also grateful to be able to do what I do. I'm very interested in my work. So it's that old adage that it doesn't feel like work, because I have fun doing it. And I love working with my clients and having conversations with them. And I also learn things from my clients every day. And so, yeah, I really love that you asked this question, because I think it's so important every day to reflect on what you're grateful for.
Yeah, you don't realize what you have until you've lost it, is what a saying is that I've
So
heard.
true.
And you had the feeling all your life you'd never have children, and then for that to materialize must have been the highest high you could ever imagine.
Yes, lots of happy tears
And
all the
that's
time.
wonderful. It's so wonderful to hear that that was successful. That's great.
Mhm.
I remember my brother and his wife went through a lot of that kind of stuff, and they tried and tried and couldn't do it, couldn't do it. And as soon as they stopped trying, well, she had three within 4
Ah,
years.
I love that.
So,
What a
hey,
great
sometimes
story.
the trying gets you set up for success, I guess. So keep trying.
Yes, always.
What advice would you give your 20-year-old self looking back at your life?
Oh gosh, calm down. I am an incredibly type A person. COVID really helped me calm down in that respect. And my child has helped me calm down in that respect. But at 20, I was just so worried that I wasn't going to get a job after college and I wasn't going to be able to have a career and I wasn't smart enough. And I was just always so insecure. And I wish I had spent more time appreciating who I was because I was smart and good at what I was doing. And, my career turned out beautifully. So that would definitely be my advice would be just relax more and enjoy the moments you're in rather than being so worried about the future success.
Good advice. Um, what would you say is the thing about being impactful that's important to you?
Yeah, being impactful is important because why are you here then? To be completely blunt, what purpose are you here for and what are you giving to the world? And I think impactful became a word for me when I lost both of my sisters to suicide, which was very difficult for me to go through. And I realized when my first sister passed away, I could either take that pain and destroy myself, or I could take that pain and convert that energy into something better. And so for me, it was being impactful with that energy in a positive way, and turning it into something brighter because it was so important for me not to follow in their footsteps, but also I was so young. So it was important for me to continue to live my life, and grow from those experiences. And so I think people underestimate how impactful they can be. They think their stories are the only stories out there. No one will understand them. But actually, people will, and people have been through things similar. It's surprising to find those people, but they're out there. And telling your story can be so impactful on someone else's life. It can help them survive a moment. And one of my favorite stories is that I could not write about my sister's suicide for 5 years. I just didn't feel comfortable publicly acknowledging it or writing about it. And so I wrote about other things. And then when I did finally write about it, I did get some blowback on LinkedIn from two businessmen who were very upset that I would write about something like that and that I would post it on LinkedIn. And I told them, I said, this is a part of my life, and my career. I help with suicide prevention quite a bit. And they still just were nasty about it. But what came of that is I received an email from a young man who was about to take his life. He was on Twitter and he was looking up suicide. And he found my post that I wrote about how it impacted my mom and my family, and how what I learned from that moving forward with my life. And he wrote me and said that after he read that, he realized he could not take his life because of what it would do to his mom. And he had never thought about it that way. And so that letter alone is more important to me than any other like blowback I would get from somebody
Mhm.
else. And so that's why I think being impactful is important, not only in your personal life, but also in your professional life and with your brand. It's important to see how are you impacting people at the end of the day and being conscious of that.
Excellent. Well, that's just like the boy walking on the beach throwing the sand dollars back.
Yeah.
You're asked why you threw them back because they're just going to come right back and die. But some of them won't. Some of them will just succeed, and you save that one. So,
Yes.
yeah, kudos to you for being strong, putting out the word that you believed in. The catharsis that it gave you to talk about it was one thing, but
Mm-hmm.
also the impact on others was a bigger item, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Tell me what you would like to be remembered for when it's all said and done.
Oh, that's a deep question. I'd like to be, I've always said that my purpose in life is, I think it's from an Emerson poem, but to leave one life breathing easier. And that has always been, since I was a child, what I've wanted to do with my life. And so I want to be remembered for helping somebody and helping others and being a light in their life during a really difficult time.
I think you chose the right profession to do that. Social media has many avenues to help people and to interact in their lives very personally. So I think you're doing a good job. How can we
Thank
support
you.
you and Sherman social media, Marji?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Please follow me on social media. On Twitter, I'm at Marji, MarjiJSherman. And then on LinkedIn, I'm the same. And then also on Threads, I'm Sherman Social Media, and on Instagram, Sherman Social Media. So would love to see your faces and have you interact and hear your stories as well. And then you can find my blog at shermansocialmedia.com. I write about social media and digital marketing tips, but I also write about obviously some lifestyle things that have happened in my life and important lessons that I've learned.
Well, and also you do luxury things. So people probably want to know, what are those luxury items that you represent?
Yes.
It's like the
That's a
Rob report.
secret.
We'd always get the Rob report and read what's the cool thing out right now.
What's the cool thing out right now? Oh, I like the little Prada bags that are coming back from 2000.
Yeah. What would you say about your guest experience on the Influencers podcast today?
I absolutely love this experience. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I think you asked such fabulous questions from a career and personal standpoint to really get to know somebody. So I just love getting to know you, Dr. Bill. I'm looking forward to staying in touch with you and all the great things you're doing. And I'm just so happy that you are doing this podcast. I think it's wonderful.
Well, thanks, Marji. We just throw the bait out and just see who wants to take it and run with the questions. And I love the answers people give me. Typically, they're always wonderful. You've been an exceptional guest today, so
Thank
thank you
you.
for that. And I want to give you, before I come back on and chat with you a moment, I want to give you the final word with our audience. And when you're done, I'll come right back.
Sure. Yeah. So really check me out on shermansocialmedia.com. But as my final word, I would say be yourself, be vulnerable, even in your business. Say what you want to say and be honest about things that are happening behind the scenes. And you'll be surprised about how you retain your customers and how many new prospects come your way. And I really enjoyed this audience today. And thanks for having me.
You're sure welcome, Marjorie. It's part of our job is to make our guests look great and be famous. You made it easy for me to highlight you and your business. So thank you for being such a great guest on the show. This QR code up here in the top is my freedom code. You can take a picture of it, or if that's too much work, you can just write it down, ovu.me, because that's my digital business card. And I usually highlight two things, Marjorie. I want people in the audience to always know they can find more influencer podcast sessions on drbillwilliams.tv.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
a lot
they're
more of me.
wonderful. I've
The
listened to
books
a
I've
few of
written. You've been there.
them.
Good. Thank you for checking it out. We have AI technology in all of our products, and I represent, as a global ambassador, a company with many software products. For instance, if you want to make a custom trim, like a bit.ly type of a small URL, ours is OTrim, and you can use that freely. And we actually have tracking information built in and the ability to make QR codes, and we give this away free. So you can donate that to everybody as a free gift. We have something that you mentioned earlier, Google Analytics and all these things that you use to track your websites and find out where people are going and coming and who they are. We have OTracker with extremely advanced analytics. So this may be something that you would like, and it's probably a lot less expensive than what most people use. So we promote that one, and everything we have is AI based. The most exciting one we have is our very first product that we released to the public. That is a video conferencing platform, and you'll like it because you'll be able to conference with your clients, and your baby can be crying in the background, and they won't hear it. It's got
I
noise
need that.
It trains itself on your voice, and anything that's not your voice, it cuts out.
Love that.
So that's a nice thing. And also it's multilingual, so it'll translate on the fly. Once you get the top version of OConnect, then you'll be able to speak in Russian, Spanish, English, French, all at one time to people, and they'll understand. So we like that. Bless is a platform for crowdfunding, for innovation and charities. So we can actually support people that have good causes. So there's a lot of things going on in our world, and I just want to share those with you. And
amazing.
As we go forward, if there's anything that anybody in the audience would like to connect with Marge about, just go to her website, go to her LinkedIn, and connect with her. I've had several people say, "Can she come talk to my group? Can she come?" And so they're asking about you. So you're definitely making friends today.
Wonderful.
All righty, guys. This has been a fantastic time to start off a Wednesday morning. Have a good week. We're going to have another session of Influencer Podcast coming up. So looking forward to seeing you all. Stay on board, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, Marge.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.